to answer a question that one of our viewers left, and they were asking if I was bivocational when I started my CPE journey. And essentially what they were trying to gauge is how much time should you allot to do CPE? And I thought this was a wonderful question, okay? And yes, I have on the same sweatshirt that I had on the other video because I recorded this video on the same day. It's called batching, people, batching. But in all sincerity, let's get to it. So here's what I'm going to say, because I just can't tell people how their life is and how much emotional capacity they have for things. I don't feel like that's my place. But what I think might be helpful is for me just to say, here's what's going to be required at most CPE programs. So let's start with in-person CPE, which, let me tell you, I am a proponent of. I've taken online CPE. Actually, I start my final unit, y'all. I wish I had sound effects. Bah, 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 bah. I start my 4th unit in a couple of weeks. So I've taken online CPE and I've taken in-person. I took 2 in-person units. So unit 1A, 1B in person, and I'm taking unit 2A. I just finished up 2A and I'm starting 2B online. If you are new to chaplaincy, meaning you haven't done any type of pastoral care in like lay ministry before, or you haven't been a pastor, or you haven't volunteered in specific settings, like unhoused shelters, or don't have a social work background or therapy background, I would say, if possible, take your first couple of units in person. It's just going to be a different experience for you to be able to go see a patient and get critiqued on that pretty quickly. Whereas your educator may not be able to critique what you did or answer a question, but staff chaplains, if they're good staff chaplains, because I'm just going to leave it there. If they're good staff chaplains, they will help you. Like I always say, the person who precepted me, the person who I spent the most time with, I am still friends with, even though I don't work in that hospital system. He made a world of difference in my formation. I would encourage you, take a unit of CPE in person. So as you're planning time, here's the first thing to think about. You got your education day. So CPE is 400 hours, and 100 hours of that is education time, right? So that is your IPR time. That is your didactic time. And that is usually done in most hospitals in one day. So if you're bivocational, meaning you got a job, you have to say, am I going to be able to take off almost a full day every week? If you're doing an extended unit, that's almost 5 months. And so are you going to be able to take off that day? So if it's a Wednesday, let's say, and it starts at 8:30 and it's not over to 2, can you miss work? That's the first thing I would consider, because your education day is going to take a chunk of time. Then there are other people who, like the hospital system that I do GIP in, I was talking to the educator there about me possibly doing my final unit with them. And what made me say I'm not going to do it with them is because of the way their education hours are set up. So they do 2 days a week. And on Tuesdays, the education hours are from like 10 until 2:30. And then they also do Thursdays, I think from 9 until noon, something like that. Don't quote me on the times, but whatever the point is, it's 2 days a week. And because I do have a job, I am a full-time chaplain, that would be difficult for me to swing. So that's the first thing you need to consider is, can you take a day off of work? Possibly 2 for education. If not, you could do online CPE. Now, if you do online CPE, you're going to have more flexibility. It's just like any other online program, right? I need to sip. I'll be back. Okay, I'm back. Just for the reference, this is peach juice. Ain't no alcohol in here. Okay. Okay, but so I was saying, if So that's the education hours. Online, you're going to have more flexibility. It's just like going to school online, right? You're going to have more flexibility in your hours. And so the program that I went through is very attractive because you can do your CPE hours in the evening. Like mine's went from like 4 until 7, something like that, 4 until 7:30, something like that. And that worked out well for me because I was able to get home after work and do that. But I also know that some offer not only evening hours for education, they also offer weekend hours. So if you are looking for that, like you can't take off during the week to take an education class, online might be better for you in terms of just being able to get some hours in. So that's the education part, right? So that's when you're doing your IPR, that's when you're doing your didactics, that part of it. Now, the clinical piece of it, again, why I recommend doing it in a hospital setting if you can, is now you've got to get 300 hours of clinical hours. In a hospital setting, that's easy because they're going to put you on shifts, okay? Which is also why it's cheaper to do things at the hospital, okay? Because most hospital programs are about $250, $500 is the max. But they're going to work you for 300 hours. And if they had to pay a PRN chaplain for that, it might be $9,000 for what they're going to get for goose egg for you to work those hours, right? But again, the problem becomes if you are working a job, this might be difficult for you because the shifts are going to be basically overnight shifts or weekend shifts. Now, your girl did her stuff on the weekend. I hate overnights, okay? I hated working overnight. And to be truthful, because I tell y'all the things that other folks won't tell you, I don't feel like you get enough training. You don't get enough patient exposure overnight when you are just learning. Now, once you become a chaplain, once you've gotten your hours done and you're working in that space and you choose to take an overnight shift, I think you'll be fine. But you just don't get enough patient exposure for the money you're paying. There were nights that I worked overnight and saw goose egg, no patients, okay? And it's hard to do staff care overnight when you're an intern because you're not there every day. And it takes trust and proximity to do staff care. Now, yeah, every now and then the Lord providentially might set up a situation where a nurse or a physician needs you and wants to talk to you. But for the most part, they ain't trying to deal with you at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. That's not what they're trying to do. So as an intern, I would just let you know, if you can get a weekend shift, get a weekend shift so you can get more. I think, like I said, I mentioned earlier, the staff chaplain who precepted me, not only was he an amazing staff chaplain, but also there were two, to be candid. One was female, one was male. But I worked with the male chaplain more. And but both of them were super helpful to me because it would be the staff chaplain and me as the intern. And because I took all the Saturdays, I chose all the Saturdays, I was able to build a relationship with those staff chaplains, right? Again, it's about trust and proximity, and it helped me to grow and being able to offer good care. So if you can get some weekend shifts with the same staff chaplains, it'll be better for your experience from a mentorship standpoint. So the question becomes, can you work overnight shifts if you got a job? I don't know if you can. Maybe you can. I don't know how that would work, right? But people do it all the time. They make it work, friend. So maybe you can do overnights. You're going to have to choose a site to do your clinical hours in. So those other 300 hours. I know people who were in my 2A group who chose their church as their site to do their clinical hours. So if you choose to do it online and you're already a lay leader in your church, or it might be an opportunity for you to become a lay leader in your church, you could pick your church as a site. There were other people who picked hospitals that did not have chaplains, who didn't budget for chaplains. And they were able to volunteer there because they didn't have CPE at those hospitals either. So I knew one classmate volunteered at a hospital. There's others who work in like night ministries and things like that. So more community-based chaplaincy, you could do that. But you're going to have to find your own spot to be precepted at. Again, refer back to, if you can, I would be taking my first couple of units on site if you could. So I don't know if that answers your question. Can it be done? Absolutely. Is it going to be hard? Definitely. Because here's the part that I left out, y'all. It's all the freaking writing and reading and reflecting you have to do in CPE. For me, I lucked out because, like, I love to read. I love to read. These are books I've ordered just for me to read this month. Well, the month of February. So by the end of February, these 5 books will be read, okay? And on top of me doing schoolwork, I love to read. But I also have no small children. It's just my husband and I, okay? My husband and I and a dog. I can read all the time. I got nothing but time. When I'm done with these videos, I'm going to go read. I'm going to write. I have time. If your schedule doesn't allow that, it's going to be tough. I would say if someone asked me how much time I spend doing CPE, now not as much, but my first unit, second unit, I would say I spent outside of classroom time, outside of work and just doing assignments, probably 10, 15 hours. 10, 15 hours. Writing and reading, researching for CPE. It's less now because I'm in my latter units and I'm preparing for provisional board certification. So a lot of my thoughts and thinking is around writing to those competencies. But yeah, you can put in another 10 hours. Plan on another 10 hours to do that. So, and if you're a slow reader or a slow writer, factor that in as well. This is why I'm like, there is no reason chaplains should be making less than $80,000 a year. Like, really, I want to say $100,000 a year. I'm not kidding. I don't care who get mad about it. The truth is because you just spend too much time. You invest too much money. You invest too much energy to come out making $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. Like, it's just not enough for the amount of investment you put in it. And before somebody starts saying, well, what about social workers? Social workers only make that too. I get it. But you know what about social workers? Social workers can also be therapists. Social workers can get them a nice little side hustle going on. That's not so easy for chaplains to do. Okay? We can't just start doing stuff on the side. Even like spiritual direction, you got a market for that, right? Like, it's just not easy for us to do that. Most of the time when chaplains are looking to make extra money, we got to pick up another job, a PRN job, which, by the way, I just got, okay? A weekend palliative care focused PRN spot. The Lord is good. But the fact that I got to work 2 jobs. But I'm doing that for a couple of reasons. Number one, I want to make sure that I keep my hospital skills sharp, like, because this is my career. Number two, I work in a very affluent, homogenous area, and I wanted more diversity in my patient base. And I also wanted to be back in the community. I want to be, because there's just different types of cases that you see. There's more variety, and doing end-of-life care. While every patient is different, every family is different, a lot of the scenarios are similar. And I want to keep myself sharp, pop my collar. Like, I got board certification to get ready for. Even though we know how I feel about that. But you got to do what you got to do. So, anywho, like, share, comment, help your girl out. Okay, I spend time doing this on Sundays, making these videos for you. Show me a little bit of love. It don't cost you anything to like and share and comment, friends. And until next time, if you're new around here, my name is Leslie, and I am creating the videos that I wish existed when I first became a chaplain. And until next time, grace and peace.